Today I want to talk with you about people pleasing as someone who has been living with this pattern for most of my life, and as someone who found a way to finally change it. Because very often we don't even question our kind of people pleasing habits and continue living from this pattern without noticing how it's slowly maybe destroying us. And you may have this kind of habits or problems. It may be very difficult for you to say no to someone, or when you do it, then you feel a lot of guilt and maybe regret and think that maybe you should not have done it. The other thing is when you constantly focusing on how not to upset anyone, how to not make anyone angry. So you're checking all your actions, word choices with a filter of how it influencing other people. And like this you may slowly even lose touch with your own needs, your own desires, your own goals. So your life is becoming about making other people happy and thinking about how to please them. Yeah, that's why it's people pleasing. Sometimes we don't see it in this way, and sometimes we see ourselves as someone who is kind, who cares about people, who have this compassion. In reality, you can have both. And people-pleasing pattern, and you can be also kind and caring. It's not like one excludes other. The thing is that if you notice that your people-pleasing habits, they are coming from tension, from fear, with certain emotions of shame and guilt, maybe also with a strong fear of judgment, that's when it's become a problem. Because real care, real help, it's more light. When you're thinking about others in this way, there is no this negative emotions inside. When there are negative emotions, when you're losing yourself, when then you're feeling bad, there is a problem. And it may be very difficult to do something about it, because in reality, people pleasing is a trauma response and it's a survival mechanism. It's getting formed very early in our childhood. Many of us, when we were little children, we didn't receive this unconditional acceptance or unconditional love from our parents. We saw it more in conditional way. And maybe there were also other situations that made us feel not very safe, that we always need to scan for certain danger, how not to make our parents or one of them angry or upset, how we can make sure that we always loved and accepted. Because for a child, their parents is their survival. If they feel that they're not loved by their parents, there is a threat. It happens on subconscious level, a threat of being abandoned and to die eventually. So there is a very intense feeling and very intense fear. So in order to survive, you may start to create these habits and this mechanism of people pleasing, of always thinking about how others feel. And also, and the other important thing here, you live with a huge responsibility of other people's feelings. And that's very different between real care. Like you're responsible for what you're doing, what your intention, what you're saying. But people with this pattern, they carry huge weight of responsibility, something that in reality they can't really control, but they created this belief that they can, and they live in this belief. Once you see this and once you understand this, it's becoming easier to do something about it. Because when we can't do it is when we're not aware about it. And in some cases, people can get advices just like, why are you always helping this person? Yeah, just say no, stop it. Don't you see this person is using you? Why you just don't go and say what you want? Why are you always scared what other people think? Because people who will give you this advice, they didn't live this trauma in childhood that created this pattern. What is the problem here? if the feelings that are buried under this pattern are really strong, I don't know what exactly happened with you, yeah, we all had different situations in our childhood, but if this pattern created and was running your life, it was something that was too strong emotionally for a child. There were moments of a very strong fear that you will lose your parent in specific moments when you upset them or when you make them angry. In reality, they were angry or upset, and they put this responsibility to you without, of course, probably they didn't want to do it in this way, but that's how you perceived it. So when there is this strong emotions blocked and your psyche protects them, just doing it despite all these fears is not always helpful. It depends on the level. For someone, if maybe they're quite aware, quite resourceful, and maybe the situations was not too strong for them emotionally, they can overcome it by doing and by start saying no, by doing what they want, by telling what they don't like. For people who struggle with this for a long time without being able to change it, it could be more serious in a way that you need to do certain inner work before you start taking the sections. And I learned all of this not from theory, that's pattern that I've been living, and not just people pleasing in general. I had very severe fear of judgment, close to social anxiety, I would say. Couldn't say, do ask anything without looking around like at everyone with a strong fear about what they will think, and couldn't say no or ask for something without feeling like a bad person, with guilt and with feeling that I'm a burden for someone else when I need something from them. And if someone were asking me, of course I will do, even offering help everywhere. And with time, when I was working on myself, a lot of this also included working with self-love, a lot of with trauma healing and developing my self-awareness, I started coming out from this pattern. And you can see one of the changes already here. Before this ridiculously strong fear of judgment, and now for years already creating this content on some also vulnerable topics, and working with people as a life coach and helping them. And now I'm almost finished working on my book, where I want to explain all the concept of how these things happen, because people pleasing is one of the signs of fragmentation that happens to us in childhood. The idea is that all of us were born whole and we have already everything we need inside us, and then through different life experience fragmentation happens, and fragmentation happens on different levels, and on mental and on emotional and on energy level. And when the situation that caused your fragmentation were very intense, then maybe you're working for years with some patterns, but it's not going away because you need to integrate all levels. And the main thing that is very helpful for people when they're doing certain self-work and healing is to understand themselves and to understand what works for them and how to use certain tools and information that are available for themselves. So when it comes to people-pleasing pattern, there are certain things that can be helpful. First, you should realize what it costs you to keep this pattern going, because it's cost you quite a lot in terms of your energy and your life force. That is, with your attention, with your focus, it's always going to other people, not to yourself. Then slowly also you lose connection with yourself, with your own desires, with what you really want. And the other thing, relationships that you're keeping in your life that are built on you sacrificing your needs, hiding your true self, not all of them are genuine relationship. Some of them may be built only because you're giving people what they want to have. You're the comfortable one. You're always there for them. For some people, it may be not the issue. They may not expect anything from you, but you never told them that you're doing something against yourself and you're hiding hiding your true nature and what you really want or don't want to do. And when so much of your energy is used on these things, there is not much left for yourself, for your growth, for your life, for what you really want, for what you're really interested in. And you may feel a bit depleted and maybe even lost the direction in your life and maybe not realizing what you want. So once you see what it costs you, you can maybe be more motivated about what to do about this. And you can do a lot and you can really change it. There are certain things. One of them is to work with your guilt. Very often there is conscious or even unconscious guilt under this pattern that something is really wrong with you, that why you can't be real. And I have another video of this topic, I will link it here, you can check it, because once you process this guilt, it will be already a bit easier. Other things that normally with this pattern we have very strong inner critic and struggling with not enough self-love and self-acceptance. And I have videos also on these topics, and in the video about how to stop your inner critic, I give a very structured and detailed journal practice that you can do by yourself, and it can be a huge help. And the other thing is you can start taking real actions, the one that feels safe for you, or maybe a bit scary, but not the one that will destroy you. You can start slowly, allow yourself a bit more, choose yourself in certain situations before you're not even considering this, but here slowly you can start doing this. And what helps here, when you start taking this small step against this pattern, you will slowly prove yourself that is not that dangerous. The thing is that what can help in this situation, if before to start doing this action you will come to acceptance of the certain consequences. When you decide to set a certain boundary with some person, you may want first to accept the possible situation that they will want to end the relationship. It's not very likely, but it's better to do it with this acceptance, because in the moment when you go through it, it's already a practice that I can give you here. When you imagine it, I will say no here, or I will say that I don't like this, or I will say that this doesn't work for me. You start imagining the situation, all the steps of it, and notice what feelings arise in there. And you may journal about these feelings, and you can slowly go to the root, to the fears, to the emotions, maybe to the shame, to the guilt, but very often fear or something else. And you sit with these feelings and you do some self-reflection with them. You may be going back to your past and trying to find how it was formed in your childhood, what was happening with your mother, your father, or maybe even your grandmother or someone else. And you may find how these habits were formed, and you may find certain beliefs that were formed around this area about that you are responsible for other people, feeling that you need to take care of everyone or everything will fall apart. That you can search for this moment where it came to your mind that judgment or critics from someone else is very dangerous, that it will kind of almost kill you. And you can do all of this and it will be really helpful. The other part here is to go through the emotions that come in. If you feel the fear, you need to release the fear and sit with it. If there is some shame or guilt, you can sit with this shame or guilt. So it's to allow the place for the emotions, allow the place for all the parts inside you, for this inner child that may be still scared, this inner child is still searching for love outside, for certain acceptance, for approval. You need to start giving all these things to yourself step by step. Depends where are you now, what is your state now, and depends on it you can choose what is working for you. And this kind of work is the example of how we work with fragmentation back to our wholeness. When we finding the root of certain things, when we process our emotions that were blocked, when we question and change in our beliefs, and when we take actions from this new state, new beliefs, I would say, when we creating new check with reality. For example, I said this and then everything was okay. Other people, they were not upset, they just accepted it and I just moved forward, it's safe. Or if maybe some relationship ended, you may realize that they were not really serving you. This relationship were just draining your energy for the price of this kind of acceptance, maybe, or love from this other person. That was not real love, but that's how you may feel it. And through this inner work and through these actions, you arrive into a different state when you become free from this pattern, and when you integrated the parts that were fragmented in your childhood under certain traumatic experience. And if you're interested to know more about this topic, you can subscribe to my channel or to my mailing list through my website, because when my book will be published, I will announce it here and I will give more information, because in this book I will give the whole structure for 100 days when you work on all levels, and mental and emotional and energetic, and with integration of all the parts and all of your energy through all these levels, slowly, step by step, and anyone can do it, even if you didn't do any self-work before, or even if you tried the therapy, coaching, maybe different healing modalities, but you're still struggling with some patterns. I give there the whole integrated system. Thanks for watching, and if you have any comments or questions, I'm always happy to see them, and see you in the next video.